Greetings. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Stefan, you started to record too early.
Wow, that's the way it's done.
And by the way, we didn't ask Joanna if she's okay with that. We have to ask her.
Everybody knows by now the Zoom protocol. It's not. Not
Yeah, still some people don't really want to be recorded or to appear on Zoom when it's recorded. At Uppsala University, for instance, the center where I worked, Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies, they were so much afraid there if there is a record. I had to tell them like well advance that they would prepare, even though they were not presenting, just to appear on screen without camera, just the name still was a big deal. So, but most of the people are right, they take it easy after a couple of years of COVID. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
In progress.
So we're waiting for the speaker still.
I hope she didn't forget.
That would be embarrassing, let's put it that way. Well, in case I can speak about Roma refugees from the Ukraine in Switzerland right now, getting up to here in in that topic right now, and it's not easy. The politicians in Switzerland are actually using Roma to lobby against the special status for Ukrainian refugees in Switzerland. So quite a bit of
separate Ukrainian refugees from all the rest, of course.
So yeah, they have a special status, so they're automatically accepted. They are allowed to work, etc. And some politicians, especially on the right side of the political spectrum, want to stop that. And the fact that now we have lots of Roma from Transcarpathian Ukraine coming, who unfortunately fit the usual stereotypes that the Swiss have about Roma very well, you know, very large families, no education, etc. So they're using that politically. So it's we have three actions against the newspapers in Switzerland. Plus now we're starting one against a politician from the Canton Bern for having generalized, all Roma abuse the asylum system in Switzerland.
This is the problem of
Yeah.
the Western societies.
Yeah.
But I see, Stefan, you're prepared in case Joanna will not appear.
I know
By
the
the way-
theme quite well.
Okay, where is she? Really? Can you message her maybe on WhatsApp or?
Johanna.
Because I don't think there is a trouble with the link. Everything works well.
I think we still have 2 minutes until 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and usually we start 5 minutes later, 5-6 minutes later, because until people open and join, always there's time.
I don't know where I have her. I need to find her contact.
I checked my emails. I don't see any question from her or any note, anything. Everything should be fine. And yesterday she answered Carola, so.
Paul is joining.
Oh, hi, Paul.
Hi there. Just trying to get. I don't know. So let's give it. Let me send her an email. Just.
Paul would not hear you.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I was muted, that's why.
It's amazing that after all those years, we still have trouble with the mute button sometimes. It depends on the system, actually.
Stefan, you changed settings. No bookcase in the back of you.
No bookcase in the back of me because I'm sitting in the kitchen in urban land.
What?
I'm sitting in the kitchen of my house in urban land.
Oh, okay.
Johanna is just joined. Good.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had some.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Nice to see you too. And I'm sorry, I had a problem with the connections with the internet. I don't know what's going on with my. All the time when I try to be on time, I have some problematic issues. So I'm really sorry.
It's fine. I have the same problem all the time. Either computer stops to work or Google just doesn't open the link. Already, if I'm doing this like 15 minutes in advance, still there can be troubles. Hello, Elena. Hello, Veselin.
Moj padalo. Vad bredden se разболява.
Okay, I wanted to ask everyone if you're okay that we record the session because we want them to upload the lecture on the YouTube. And first of all, the question to Joanna. Are you okay that we record? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, great. Of course, we will cut all these parts of the conversations.
Yeah.
Because Stefan, just to be sure that everything is recorded, starts immediately.
That way I don't forget. This is just a matter of, you know.
Okay, so
And
we
then
still
there's
wait.
Yep.
We usually wait for
Yeah.
5 past the time or 6 past the time,
Yes.
5,
Yeah.
6 minutes.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So maybe I use the time to ask the question from my side because I assume that we have 1.5 hours. Yeah.
Yes.
And should I leave the space for the question and finish a bit earlier? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Usually we have 40, 45 minutes. Sometimes people talk
Okay.
longer, which is okay. But still we need time for the questions.
I do my best to use just only 35 minutes. So I hope that
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. And it's not, academic. It's about the introduction of situation of the Roma refugees from Ukraine. So
Yeah,
on the
this is
same
very
page.
important.
Yeah.
We were discussing before you joined that I'm up to here in Zakarpatske Ukrainske Roma refugees in Switzerland right now. We have ton who have just arrived, and it's a bit of a problematic situation with the politics right now, where they're being used as to lobby against the status of refugees for all Ukrainians, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I also before our meeting, I had a conversation with my team because we have 70 people who became homeless, who are Roma from eastern part of Ukraine, and who spent 3 nights at the railway station. So, our situation here in Poland is really difficult and challenging, but I will tell you more during my presentation. I forgot to take a water, so if you don't mind, I will go to
just go ahead.
Yeah,
we'll wait for another few minutes until people
still
join.
1-2 minutes, maybe someone else will join. Hi, Lenka.
Hello, I was on the wrong link, so I apologize for.
It's okay, we didn't start yet. No, we didn't start yet.
I copied in my agenda the previous one, so I was wondering what is going on. So, yeah. Nice seeing you all.
Yes.
Nice to see you. Yeah, this is the issue with the links. Each time we have the new one, I think maybe we can figure out, Stefan, for the next year to have like one link for all events.
I can try to see how we can do that. Yes, definitely.
If we can figure out, anyway. So also Carola Finks messaged and she said that she cannot unfortunately attend today's event, but she is looking forward to hear this after records. I think when Joanna returns,
she's
we
back,
can
then
start.
I think we'll kick off as soon as she's back.
Yeah, I just can introduce again for now. I think everybody knows Joanna, but just in case I will say that Joanna Talevich is from Poland. And this is like triple pleasure to have you, Joanna, here. One pleasure that you're academic scholar of the Romani origin, and unfortunately we still don't have many academics of Romani origins. Second, Joanna also is the representative of the NGO Foundation Towards Dialogue, Fundacja w Stronie Dialogu, and it's already the activist part. And third one, we have finally the topic which I was looking for many months, the topic about current situation and Russia's war against Ukraine and Ukrainian Roma refugees in Poland, because Poland was the first country where all Ukrainians left within the first days of the occupation of certain regions in Ukraine, and so the intervention of Russia to the Ukrainian lands. And also Poland was a country, and Polish people were the first people who welcomed and enormously helped Ukrainians. But then Roma faced completely different situation in some cases. This is very important to address not Ukrainians, like all Ukrainians, but also the groups which were discriminated, first of all, Roma in own countries. We talk about Ukraine, and also even after the war started and refugees started to flee, they still were not accepted as the same Ukrainians of Ukrainian ethnic origin in other countries, not only Poland. We talk also about the Czech Republic, where in Prague, Roma stayed 1 month on the train station. But again, returning to Joanna, this is like triple pleasure, and I'm very happy to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm also very happy to be here, so thank you so much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here because of many reasons. We also know with Stephanie, we know each other from International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. We work together in one common commission. I'm talking about the commission regarding Roma genocide. I represent Poland in this committee. And I also work with in the committee regarding education about the Holocaust. I mentioned about this because this topic, the topic regarding Holocaust, was also and still is very close to me because of many reasons. I'm from Roma community. I'm Polish Roma, and I was born in Oświęcim. Oświęcim is a town where Auschwitz-Birkenau was situated, and the history of our community, it's also part of my family history, which is also very important for me. I was involved in the commemoration of the Roma genocide since I was 14, and when first commemoration was organized, I remember that it was in 1994, and I was 14, and just only 7 or 8 people were together with us, with my father, and with the other people from Polish and from Jewish communities. So actually, I became an activist quite early. And I was very, very focused on the topic regarding of the history of Roma as a volunteer, and then as a person who was a member of the team of Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. For a few years, I was also academic advisor for Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum for the educational program regarding history of the Sinti and Roma. But I'm also happy to be here because we're going to discuss, and I'm going to present the situation of the Roma refugees from Ukraine, and I must say that even if I was very focused on the history of Roma during the World War II, I stopped to be active as I was before, because I made this decision 2 years ago not to be too much connected, too much involved into war. I mean, it's too difficult for me to be in a very, very difficult part of the history, which is connected to the past of my community. And the second thing is to be connected with the present war and the situation of Roma refugees. I also was an academic. I'm still academic, but not full-time person in academia. I used to work. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I spent actually 15 years in Polish academia. I worked in Jagiellonian University as an assistant professor, and then I spent 4 years in the University of Warsaw. Now I'm still connected to the academia, but more like a part-time and a guest lecturer, or I conduct also seminar, and I'm also lecturer of postgraduate study program, which is conducted by Auschwitz Museum. So I'm still focused on the topic regarding Roma history, but as I said before, not so intensive as in the past. I'm also president of the founder, actually not only president, but the co-founder and the president of the Foundation Towards Dialogue, which was established in 2012. It was a time when I was a full-time academia person. So this foundation was very much connected to my mission regarding education and building awareness about the Roma community. I was born in the country, which is not only one country where the awareness and knowledge about the Roma is in a very low level, and the stereotypes and prejudice are base of the creation of our image. It has a huge impact on our life, on life of also Polish people, because the perception of minorities and also migrants and refugees groups, it's a very, very connected to the stereotypes and cliches, which is of course not real knowledge, and shouldn't be also based to build approach and activities and also behaviors towards mentioned groups. If I can, I hope I will. Yes, I would love to share my screen with you, but let me, I'm not very, I'm
We
not
can
the
see it. Yes, everything's fine.
Yes, you can see, but I would like to see the whole screen of my presentation.
On the bottom, on the right-hand side, you have a presentation. The third one, just before the slider on the bottom right, will put everything in presentation mode.
I cannot see this. Just a second. Maybe because of my
Next to the minus sign. Next to
Yep.
the minus.
I
That's
can
it.
see. I can see. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can see the first slide and also the title of my today's presentation. As I said before, I'm going to speak about the situation of Ukrainian Roma refugees in Poland. I would like to also share with you the experiences of Foundation Towards Dialogue, which I mentioned before, and which I co-founded in 2012. We were very focused, especially in the beginning, we were very focused on the education. As I explained, you know, the building awareness and spreading awareness about the cultural differences, about cross-cultural communication was something which was very important for us also, because we see the gap in Polish educational system. We have no that kind of education, we have no that kind of sensitivity. That's why stereotypes and cliches replace the knowledge, real knowledge about the minorities, among them, of course, Romani people. We had a very different educational programs addressed to different groups, like local politicians, like also politicians from government. We worked with journalists, with the students, with teachers, but we also created a program addressed to our community. In Polish school, we have no actually education focus on Roma history, even if we work together, if we live together and next to each other in one country. Romani people, we as a Roma are also Polish people, but as I said before, we have no education and knowledge about our real history. And I'm not talking also about knowledge. I'm not talking only about the knowledge and awareness among majority. I'm talking also about the knowledge and awareness among Roma people. So that's why in the foundation we created the program addressed to Roma kids and Roma teenagers, which are focused on our history. And our goal was to build awareness among our community about our identity, about our diversity and the history. In the same time, I used to work in a university, so actually this both area were very important for me, but the foundation was quite small. We had just only 3 people in the foundation. My colleague Małgorzata Kołaczek was my close friend, but also co-founder of the foundation, was also a professor in university. So we tried to share our time and involvement in different kind of area connected to the academia and also non-governmental organization established by us. When the political situation changed in Poland, it was 2015. Our situation as a non-governmental organization, which was focused on human rights and minority rights, we found ourselves in a very, very difficult situation because we were under attack, from national media. And also politicians, the government, law and justice. They had a power for the next 8 years. They weren't focused in a positive way on human rights. The narrative was very negative. So, also we had a very difficult financial situation. So we built different kind of partnership together with the other and bigger institutions and organizations like a Jewish organization, like a Polish museum. It's a museum of the history of Polish Jews, or also FVZ Foundation, which is German foundation, and also partnership together with the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. And it was very helpful because we were able to survive without any support from Polish government and very limited support from European Union funds because of the difficult situation of Poland. I'm talking also about the political situation and relation together with the EU countries. Our situation as a foundation, but not only as a foundation, but also, my situation personally and other people in Poland changed when the full scale of Russia's invasion started in Ukraine. It was, as you exactly know, February 2022, and I remember that I had a morning coffee together with Małgorzata, who spent a few days in my apartment in Warsaw because it was a time when I still live in Warsaw, but yes, I moved from Krakow just only a few months before this war started. And we had a morning coffee, and we had a very, very important conversation what we can do as a non-governmental organization and also as a people who are involved on social issues, what we can do to support refugees, to support people who fled from war in Ukraine. And I mention about this because today I think that this conversation was, for me, it's really hard to understand how much naive we could be. I mean, we exactly know about the perception of Romani people, and we exactly know how many Ukrainian Roma used to live in Ukraine before the war. we also exactly knew about the situation of the Ukrainian Roma in Ukraine before the war. So I have no idea why our conversation didn't concern the situation of Romani refugees. We were simply focused on the discussion how to support refugees, because we simply believe that all people, all refugees, will be treated in the same way. Practically, actually, we found ourselves in the very difficult situation after 2 days. I remember that that after 2.5 days, I received first phone call from the border that Romani refugees came. Then I had more phone calls every single day, more and more and more, not only with the information about the Roma refugees, but also about but also with the request to take them. I was in shock because of this question, of course, but also because of the scale of the problem and challenges. I have no idea how it happened that so many people in my country had a phone call to, you know, my number. So I had a phone calls from people who I never met, who I don't know with the same request and with the same communicate. Gypsies came, could you take them? We as a country, I'm talking about the Polish country and the law. As you know, we are a democratic country and we have a good law. And since March, so actually a few weeks after the war started, we, Polish government implemented quite good law, you know, focus on protection of the refugees from Ukraine. So actually in the theory, everything was great. All refugees should be equal, but practically it was not true, unfortunately. So after a few days, I didn't know what to do. And I have to tell you that just only for 1 day we had, and only in Warsaw, we had 2, 3, or even 400 Roma refugees per day in Warsaw. So the scale of the challenge I mentioned about was huge, especially that, as I mentioned before, the foundation was quite small. We had just only 3 people in the foundation. So I started to build, and Małgorzata, who is a colleague of mine, she used to live in Krakow. So another problem was that in Warsaw, I was the only one Roma activist with a, you know, organization, but unfortunately without, you know, real and strong capacity and structure. So I started to act very spontaneously, building the network with my colleagues, friends, with my neighbors, with the friends of my son, and with common people who were able to support and help with the cars and with the foods, with the clothes, and so on. After a few days, I went to the border, to Korczowa. It was one of the border, and I saw few groups of people who were completely without any services, even from the human rights organization who supported refugees. And this group of people I mentioned about were Black people, I mean, African students from African countries who used to live or study in Ukraine, and also groups of Romani women with kids. Most of them were women. And they were completely alone, many of them without shoes, without anything, you know, luggage, or so I could recognize that they came also from, you know, poverty, and their situation is not good. They had a problem with the transport. They had a problem with the food. They had a problem with everything. They had no support and no protections, and they were really in huge fear. I saw and I realized that the scale is huge, and I have to act and organize more professional and more effective help for Romani people, not only in Warsaw but also in other part of my country. So actually, one of my main goal was to attract the attention of the public and government, to have a better support to for Roma and for the foundation. Unfortunately, I also realized at the same time that we as a Roma, as a very specific group of refugees who have no support from main institutions and from Polish society, I realized that we are completely invisible for politicians in local and also international level. So our challenges weren't recognized. I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation that I became active in the field regarding Roma community, Roma minority quite early. So I must say that I was, quite recognized, and I'm still recognized in a Polish community as a person who is connected to the Roma community. And many times, also before the war, I had many opportunities to speak with the Polish media. So I decided to use this, let's say, tool. Maybe it's not the right word, but I called to Polish journalists who I had a relation with, and I told them about the situation. And this is how the huge, process regarding visibility started. First interview with me about the Roma refugees was published, and it was just only first step, because after this, more media were more interested in the situation of Roma refugees, and also more activists who are Roma from Polish became involved. Sometimes I make some jokes that it was actually first time when Polish media really helped us to be more visible, even if the context was very sad and problematic. It was very crucial because this activity attract the attention, and this attention attract the support, real support. During 1 week, maybe 8 days, I spoke with the Polish and international media. I spoke with the 67, because I counted 67 journalists from Poland and from all over the world, including CNN and Guardian. And it was a very important and crucial, because after this week and after many active actions which were initiated by Roma community, we attracted international attention, actually international organization. Oxfam was the first organization, international humanitarian organization, which supported our foundation. Then we attracted other organizations like UNHCR, UNICEF, CARE, CORE, Save the Children, and other Red Cross and other organizations. It was really important, especially that, the whole responsibility for supporting of Ukrainian refugees was taken by Roma organization, by civil society. So I remember that I coordinated many groups through WhatsApp, through Messenger, with the people who I never met before. I would like to also add that Polish solidarity, which probably you've heard in media or from articles, it was really real. I mean, people were really open, and it was something which I'm so proud as a Polish person. But unfortunately, I must say that it was a very selective, and it wasn't, Roma people completely became outside of the, people who were supported in the same way as white, non-Roma Ukrainian refugees. We had a very serious problems with the very basic services like shelters. I mean, Romani women with kids, they weren't allowed into collective shelters in many places in Poland, also in Warsaw. So I had a lot of interventions at night, or, you know, in different places in Poland, when I saw mothers together with kids who had the documents, who, you know, who were documented Ukrainian people, because probably you know that between 20–30% of Roma from Ukraine are stateless. But I saw also Roma who had all documents, and they weren't allowed into collective shelters. We started, as a foundation, we started to monitor, not only monitor, but also document the all cases of discrimination and racism to build a better and stronger structure of support. We as a foundation, we are quite good connected with the other Roma organization, not only in Poland, but also in Europe. And it was a time when we had a support, financial support from international organizations. So we were able to build capacity and structure. But we also, as I mentioned, documented whole situation regarding access to the services, and also we documented cases of discrimination. We also had a situation regarding human trafficking, so we also tried to be more effective to build the protection together with the other, you know, professional organizations who are, you know, focused on this field. A few months after the war started, we published the first reports about the human rights needs and discrimination of Romani refugees from Ukraine in Poland, who fled from Ukraine to Poland. And this research was published in Polish, in German, and in English. Our foundation was one of the partner. I was one of the author of this report, and Central Council for German, Sinti, and Roma was a publisher and the founder of this report. It was a great and important tool for further advocacy, because in the same time when we did interventions and we tried to protect people, we also tried to, and still we've been doing advocacy to have a right response from Polish government and from international institutions. It was also time when Romani kids started to have a lot of challenges and problems with the school. In the school, it's not only about the bullying and being alone, and it's not only experience. There are not only experiences of Romani kids, but in general Ukrainian kids. But we also had a problem with this, simply with the access to the school. So many schools didn't want to have a Roma. So or Roma started to be placed in segregated places outside of the cities, outside of the towns, in the very small villages, without good transport and connections with the public transport, for example. So they had no access to the schools, to the public transport, to the medical care, which was also very challenges. The most difficult situation was in Podkarpackie Voivodeship, which is a border, especially Przemyśl. This is Polish town, and this is border between Polish and Ukraine. So this is bordering town, and a lot of Roma, who are the most vulnerable people, you know, they are still arriving there to the Przemyśl, and their situation was the most difficult, because Przemyśl defined themselves as a town which is transit place. That's why many people not only in the past, you know, like 1.5 years ago, 1.5 year ago, or when the war started, spent nights on the railway, at the railway station, on the floor. But this is something which happening right now. Today we have I'm still in touch with the people from my team who work there. That today we have almost 70 people, among them kids, women, pregnant women, 2 people who suffer from cancer, and the situation is really dramatic. And they've been there since a few days. So it's a really terrible that we observe neutralization of the situation of Romani refugees who very often found themselves as a homeless people without any support from the government, and with the kind of, let's say, acceptance of the situation, because until now there is no idea actually and program which would be addressed to the most vulnerable refugees, among them Romani refugees. Most of them, but not all of them, most of them suffered from the poverty before the war, so their situation is very complicated. In the beginning of the war, our strategy as a foundation was to organize the transport and to relocate them in the safe places. We also build a network with the international organization, as I mentioned before, in Sweden or in Germany. So you see on the slide of people who are, you know, in the buses, and they went to Germany. But we organized this relocation in the cooperation with the Roma organization to make sure that they have a protection and support when they arrive to the Germany. These photos on this slide, they were taken actually 2 months ago, and this is photos from the railway station in Przemyśl. And it was a terrible situation, actually, because one of the shelter, segregated shelter, which was organized or located actually in the Polish forest nearby Przemyśl, and only Romani people were relocated there. 400 people used to live there. We, as a Roma organization, we weren't allowed to go inside. The private owner was an organizer of this shelter. And it was very difficult to build communication with the local government, but also with the head of the organization, with this private owner. But definitely they had a finance support from the local government. It was very difficult for us to find a way to communicate and to be more effective. We informed, you know, Ombudsman, Polish government, and but the political situation until October 2023 was very complicated because of the reason which I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation. This shelter had just only, as I said, 400 people, 300 people, 300 people were kids, all of them Roma, from Zakarpattia region. So they are very, you know, vulnerable. They came from poverty. And they are recognized as, you know, as a refugees, because in some countries, people from Zakarpattia and Zakarpattia regions is recognized as a safe place, but not in Poland. So they should have the same right when it comes to the protection. Coming back to the shelter, this shelter had just only 3 toilets, 2 showers, and no heating. In this place, people lived for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. This place was liquidated without any permission and preparation what to do with the kids, with the people. And in the result, more than 200 people were transported to the Polish-Ukrainian border, and the rest of them came to the railway station, and they became homeless. So you see how this is this person in the yellow jacket. She is a Paloma. She is from Roma community, and she is a member of the team of the foundation, and every single day she works at the railway station in Przemyśl to support Roma refugees and to support people who are still arriving to Poland, and many of them to Przemyśl. Even if the war started, 2 years ago, even more, and I have to say, I must say that our situation is more stable. Our organization, is growing. Now we have we have 57 people in the organization, and we operate in different parts of Poland. This is the reason why I quit academia and why I'm not a full, time. I cannot be, actually, because the scale of the problem was too big for me, and I had to make a decision. And I realized that this is something what I feel that I should do, and I should also use my position in Polish society to build a better structure, to build the advocacy, and to put the Romani voice on the table as well, and to speak about the better situation with the politicians and with the other civil society organization. We created Roma Community Center, which is the first that kind of place, not only in Warsaw, in capital of Poland, but in our country. And I will tell you, I'm just looking at the time, but just give me a few minutes more. But I will tell you more about the community center and about our activities in a minute. But now I would like to also tell you about the still ongoing, actually, present challenges, because the very dangerous tendency, it's something which is very bad practice, which we know from the past and which we know from the other countries, which is also not new. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but yeah. Okay. Which is also something which we know as a practice in many places in Poland. It's a segregated shelters, which were and still are created in Poland in different places. And this is very bad practice, and this is very dangerous tendency, because more and more that kind of places are created in Poland. As I said before, we had that kind of practices in the past. We still have towards Polish Roma who suffer from poverty. But now the scale, it's a more serious, because of the numbers. We have around 30,000 of Polish Roma, around 1,000 of Romanian Roma who are migrants from Romania. We don't know how many Roma from Ukraine came to Poland, but according to non-governmental organization, of course, we are talking about the estimated numbers. It's about 50,000-70,000 people. So it means that the numbers of Roma in Poland, became more significant and bigger. A lot of kids actually hundreds of Romani kids have no access to the education. Because of the different kind of reason, because of discrimination, because of poverty, because of segregation and lack of the public transport, because of the parents who have no experiences with the educational system before the war. So they don't want to have kids in school. So it's a very huge barrier for kids, and also for schools. but who are open to have a Roma. But another thing is also approach of Polish parents. We had a few examples when Polish parents protested against the Roma kids in school. In a few villages, also Polish church was involved, you know, in the anti-Roma campaign. In the local level, it was really bad. So I'm not surprised why Romani parents sometimes feel fear to send their kids to the school. But it's a really bad, especially for the kids who had experiences with education and who are not able to continue their education in Poland. Of course, lack of the solution addressed to the most vulnerable group introduced by government, it's also a very crucial problem, because when it comes to, it's one of the example, of course, but when it comes, housing is the most example, yeah, but when it comes to education, we have a lot of kids who are, you know, who are 10, 12, 15, and they never went to school. And we, as a Roma or as a non-governmental organization, we have no idea what to do with them, actually. That's why we need to be supported by government, by professional institutions, you know, and together in partnership, we are able to create the right answer and the better solution. And another thing which is also mentioned, which I would like to also mention, is a lack of inclusive approach in not only in Polish educational system, but in general in Polish society. Lack of education, lack of awareness is something, you know, which is which has a huge impact on the institutions like schools, for example, because we have great teachers, we have great kids, but we have no tools which you know, which could help to work in a diverse environment. This is also a challenge for teachers and for many people who are open but who have no idea how to do it. They have no tools. And even if we have a new government since October 2023, we still don't see, of course, narrative, it's more positive. It's much better. It's more safe for minorities and for NGOs as well. It's better. But when it comes to solution, we don't feel changes. And as I said before, we feel that they want to listen, but we have no time to wait longer time for the solution, because we don't want to lose another group of people. I have no idea what happened. Okay, yeah. And now let me speak for the last few minutes about our response, about the activities of our foundation, because I tried to give you, you know, overview of the situation, which I think it's a quite similar, like in other countries like Czech or Romania or other country where Roma refugees arrived, but I would like to also, my goal was also stress that the situation is, you know, it's, we don't observe nothing new. I mean, the people still arriving, you know, so we observe that even for the last few months, we have more and more people, because situation in Ukraine is very complicated, and war won't finish, unfortunately, soon. And also because of the economic reasons, they still arriving also to Poland. For us, was very difficult to work with the Roma from Ukraine, even if I'm Roma and the team of the foundation, half of them are Roma. But for us, it was very difficult to understand their context, their situation, social situation, you know, the level of social inclusion, which has a huge impact on their, you know, mental level of, you know, how they behave, how they build relation, and we notice that they don't trust even us. Therefore we created 2 years ago, actually, we created, so quite soon after a few months after the war started, we created Roma Community Center, which is a safe place for Romani people. And it was a, first idea to create safe place when they can spend time, when they can be together, when they can also be supported in the context of documents, legal, psychological context. But now the place has also a little bit different role. This is also a place for education. This is also a place for playing, for having fun. We build also educational programs, not only for Roma, but also for majority community. And we also have a program addressed to Roma community, because one of our goals is to empower our people, our community. As I said before, we have 57 or even more people in our foundation, and more than half of them are Roma from Poland and from Ukraine. So we build the structure which is safe, but we are able to build the trust and better communication with them, to show them role models, also to feel them more safe and more aware when it comes to their own situation. One of our lawyers is Roma. She is from Ukraine. Our psychologist is Roma. So it's better to break the barriers regarding with the, psychological and mental health, which is also kind of taboo in Orthodox or more conservative communities. We also have a, cash assistance program, and also Polish lessons for illiterate people, for adults. We see a lot of disproportions in the level of education, so we try to also act in active way to make this disproportion in a, less significance, to help them, and to support them when it comes to language and other, areas of the education. We also have, you see, the Romani women who created lessons and classes of Romani language for kids. We also have a Ukrainian language. A few weeks ago, we started with English classes for teenagers as well. And we have more and more people. Now we have a bigger space, so it's easier for us to work with them, because we have a cooking classes and different kind of activities. We have a beautiful garden when they can be also more active. And for me, for us, it's the most important thing is to make them owner of this place. It means that they have to take care, and they are very open and very involved when it comes to create the space. We created mentoring program for Romani adults and teenagers. We started to also, prepare international organization who became more open to employ Roma, because it's not only about the giving the training them, but it's also about the, cooperation with the Roma who became refugees not for the first time in the history. So they should be more inclusive as well. So this is also what we try to do, to build awareness among the international organization. But we also have a partnership with the private sector, with the IKEA and other companies. We started, building the program which help to support Roma, to employ them, because we need to have people in the labor market. So why private sector don't use these people, thousands of people who are on unemployment. And this mentoring program is also support Romani people, and Roma are mentors, so it's also easier to build trust and more effective support. We work with the parents who are not very open to have kids in the schools, and this inside perspective is very helpful to create the changes. We're still collecting data. You see the cover of the new report. I can share with you all reports because they are also in English. This report was result of the research project Foundation Towards Dialogue, and together with the UNICEF. And this is this report. It's about the situation of Romani kids from Ukraine in Polish school. This methodology is very interesting as well, because we use the participatory approach. So we included, you know, Romani kids' voices, who are also very important when it comes to build narrative and to giving the space of less visible and listen voices. We also work with the teachers, with the schools. We also created a lot of educational materials for different, you know, actors in Poland, for schools, for lawyers, and also for journalists, for example. And in the same time, we do advocacy, and we try as a Roma to be more visible, because negative image is the reason why Roma refugees, you know, still are, you know, treated in this very unfair and unequal way. You see some pictures from our center. I would like to also, in the end, mention about our 3 new projects and programs. We created a first edition 7th month program for Romani women from Poland and from Ukraine. It's a leadership academy for Romani women. We are focused on education. They have you know, meetings with the people and women from Roma community, but also from refugees community, from migrants community. We finished this edition in July, and we are going to Berlin to visit ERIAC, one of the important institutions. We try to build role model context for them. We also have a program for majority and for minority as well, of course, which we organize in our center. One of them was called Femme Fusion, and 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks or 1 week ago, I don't remember even, because we have so many activities. I don't want to make mistake, but yeah, let's say 2 weeks ago, you see the line, Lebas visited our foundation, and we had an amazing meeting with her. We also had Bocumia de Limata, who is a Roma artist from Spain, and she's a flamenco artist. And we have, you know, different kind of discussion about our community, about the active, you know, actions to inspire people and to show also completely different image of our minority who have no possibilities to create our own image. Visibility, it's also something which is so important for us. That's why we work with the Polish media. This is the first cover of the women magazine in Poland, and you see Olena Wajdalowicz, who is a Ukrainian Roma, who worked for our foundation and who was on the cover of the women magazine for the first time in the history in Poland. And of course, very interesting and touching interview. You can read, unfortunately, in Polish. We had a visibility campaign created together with the Polish Vogue and Roma people. Were a very important part of the narrative. I had a huge pleasure to write the text about the right to be visible. We had a lot of, you know, advocacy meetings organized by U.S. Embassy, but by others important institutions to draw attention about regarding Roma situation. But our goal is not only to speak about the challenges. Of course, it's important to recognize them to respond in the right way, but we have a lot of, you know, good practices which I shared with you. Some of them, you know, it's not everything we've been doing, but we have solution and we are ready to be partner, but we need to be seen. We need to be, you know, support, because without the budget, we don't have a government and, you know, Roma budget, as you know. So it's a very difficult, this position of being minority. It's quite difficult in this context. And in the middle, you see the most important building of Polish building in Warsaw, in Poland. It's a Palace of Science and Culture. And this year, and on the occasion of International Roma Day, it was this building was illuminated by of the color of the Roma flags, which was also initiative of our foundation. It's also something which I hope will be tool to create the more positive and definitely active and strong community as we are. And this image is very important to create the change, because we believe that, you know, this emancipation of minority groups, it's also discussion about good practices, about our internal perspective, which might be very helpful to create solution and to create a better situation, not only for Romani people, but also for all of us, for majority, because it's for all of us. And I believe that this discussion is also about not only about the difficulties between us, but also about the similarities and our common goals, which is a human right and better, you know, life for all of us. Yeah. Thank you so much, and sorry for extended time. When I start to speak about this, it's too much emotion. So sorry for this, and thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Joanna. Actually, you finished exactly on time, and it was very interesting to listen to your personal experience and the experience of the organization, because unfortunately, somehow we don't have many shared platforms where we can hear and learn about each other's initiatives. And this is also, I think, one of the directions in activism, Romani activism, which should be developed to share not only in personal meetings or big conferences, but to have a certain platform to update each other about the situation in the countries, what's going on with certain aspects of the life. And now particularly talk about Ukraine. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And I think we should have many questions. And before we start, I was just criticized privately that I, in the beginning, didn't tell about the organizers of this event. And this is actually the Roma Foundation, and Stefan Laderich headed and is heading and will head this organization. And I'm very happy about having such a great partner, and also Institute for Russian and Eurasian Studies at Uppsala University and Uppsala Forum. And me as representative of the Uppsala University. And now we can move on to the questions.
But don't worry, you sent everything by email, so I have all information about the organizers and supportive institutions. So yeah, thank you so much.
Still better to be recorded. And now,
of course, yeah.
And Roma Towards Dialogue organization, and
Yes,
Joanna
thank you.
Tolevich is the head. Yeah.
I would have one question, if I may start. Joanna, did you observe, because I mean, many of the things that you say about refugees are mirrored also in Switzerland, but what we saw was in Switzerland that originally we had mostly Servi and Haladita Roma from the eastern Ukraine, and since now 8 to 12 months, increasingly Zakarpatsky Ukrainian Roma, which come from a very poor situation, etc. Was it the same also in Poland for you?
Actually, yes, but from few months actually, we observed that more Roma, a lot of Roma who were arriving from Ukraine are from east, from Donetsk, from Donbass.
From Donetsk, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's interesting.
Which is also very surprising, because we observe, you know, sometimes what most of them came from Zakarpattia, but now western part of Ukraine, and also from the east. and also Haditka, but also Ruska Roma. A lot
the Holoditka, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Haditka Roma, but they don't actually use this, because when we had a conversation,
They say Ruska
don't
Roma.
use this. Yes, they call themselves Ruska Roma. They don't use, and for many of them, this is not well known
Yeah.
term, which was also very surprising for us. They not only
Yeah.
they don't not only use, but they don't know this
Yeah.
this term. So
It's, Donbass is a special region, but that's interesting to know that it's right now, because there are more moving away from there. So that's
Yes.
new.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I also have a question and some comments. First of all, I wanted just to share also some experience about the Roma refugees who started to flee from Ukraine in the beginning, and the problem was the trust. It's what you, Joanna, also addressed. Roma didn't trust basically anyone except for their own community, and sometimes they didn't want to accept help. They thought that something is behind it, and actually this was the situation not only with Roma, Ukrainians, I mean ethnic Ukrainians or Jews also. Not everyone trusted, and they were very much afraid of slavery. It's what I heard myself, slavery abroad, and human trafficking or robbery or whatever. So it was like a rather common situation, but with Roma, I think it was really much more complicated. And then again, from my own experience, I have a couple of friends who work in Polin Museum and who personally helped several Romani. They're Polish, they're not Roma. They helped several Romani families. And then when we discussed the situation, what's going on in Poland, they also addressed all those issues of discrimination, how they entered this Roma family or some of them into the public transportation, and half of the wagon just wanted to move to the another half, not to sit or stand next to Romani women. And also they couldn't reach governmental support for any social support like education for kids or employment for women. And the family was from Western Ukraine, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Novograd-Volhynsky. And then eventually they, after a couple of months struggling, they had to return to Ukraine. And here's my question. Do you know the situations when Roma actually returned to Ukraine?
Yeah. Not in each, situation and that kind of, yes, example or return. But when we have a situation when the Roma decided to come back because they feel that they can come back, they are able to come back because it's more safe, or they feel, many of them feel tired, they want to come back because they their goal is not to stay in Poland. Their goal is for many of them is to go back home. Yeah, so we try to build communication with the other organization, Roma organization, who can support them. Yes, and we are able to send help like humanitarian aid and others. So, or we had a family when the one man, older man, he suffered from cancer, and he spent a few months in Polish hospital, and the doctor said that there is no hope to be okay, that because he knows that it's probably last months of his life. He and his wife and their family, they decided to come back, and they asked us for help. And for us, it was a very difficult situation, not only because of the relation with the family, we were emotionally involved, and in touch with them. I'm talking also about the member of our, medical team. But it was also difficult because, we know that, in this part of Ukraine, it's not safe. So how we can finance the transport, and to send them to the war place. Yeah, so, but when we realized that they are ready to return, without our support, we decided to help them. And we organized medical transport because it was not safe to travel without medical transport for this man. But we also built the network with one of the organization. And we were able to encourage them to go in another more safe place when when they can be supported by the organization from Ukraine, Roma organization from Ukraine, but also with the active role of our organization. And they agreed. And, they came back to Ukraine. It was almost 1 year ago. And I remember that the doctor said that it's impossible for this man to live longer than 3 months. And now when he came back to Ukraine and he is surrounded by, but more people, more relatives from the family because they moved to this more safe place. We helped them also in financial way. He's getting better. I don't know how. Probably it's also, mental, aspects, but he's much better. And he's, he's able to walk, to eat and so on, which is something which we call miracle. And he, all the time when we have a conversation, call conversation, he always repeat, that he's waiting for us. When the war finished, we have to visit him because he has a new place and he is very happy. So, we also see very, maybe not many, not too many, but still we see positive, stories, positive aspects, which is also something which help us to be, even more involved, because the circumstances of regarding of humanitarian, work with the traumas, with the violence, I have no idea. I have no competences, I'm just only person from academia. I'm cultural anthropologist. I never had that kind of experience. So it's also huge cost, when it comes to mental health. But we always repeat ourselves that we have to be fed by positive stories. And we have to remember that we are really privileged because we live in peace. But the small successful stories are very helpful to be even more motivated and not to forget that it's really, you can really change, somebody's life. And if it's one person, one family, it's worth to do it. Sometimes when we have, and it's about less positive situation, not positive situation, but, when we have that kind of situation, like, this liquidation of shelter, which I mentioned before, which is not prepared, people are transported to the border, yeah, and we know that they came back, and many of them were from Kharkiv and from different, places, in many examples, because people from Zakarpattia, they are safe, more, which is, easier to stay with this, in your head, and this how can I say, awareness that they came back to Ukraine. But when they come back to more, dangerous places, it's hard to understand, hard to accept, to investigate what's going on there, which is heavy. But sometimes we have no relation, no contact, and no possibility to help. If family decided to come back, or group of people decided to come back to the place which was, under bombing, we are not able to do anything. But this is, this is their own decision. Many times we have to accept this, and we cannot do anything.
Yeah, thank you for that. Actually, that family about whom I talked, also one of the reasons why they returned was medical reason, that one of the family members needed surgery. They could do this in Poland, but they wanted to be among own people, to reunite with other family members, not on the social problems. Yeah, that's from Volodymyr Volynski they were.
Many of them, especially who live in the segregated places, for them it's better to go back. They are, very often they repeat that they are tired. They are simply tired, and they prefer to live in their own places. Of course, many of them decided to come here because of economical reason, because living in Zakarpattia means that they had a lot of economic and social problems, but that now the situation is even more complicated, because of the war. Economic situation is not good. I heard a lot of stories that they suffered from hunger, for example, or lack of electricity or lack of water. So, for them, it's better to be here, to have something, whatever, but to have something for kids, for, older person. But sometimes they decided to come back. They are tired and they want to be in their own country. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. And another issue before I move on with the questions, it's what you mentioned, that some Roma were accused, and maybe actually many Roma were accused in opportunistic behavior, that particularly those who are from Galicia or Zakarpattia, that they just used the war to move to other countries. And that was considered like pretty safe place until recent months. And I heard many such stories, not from Roma, but actually from Poles, that those Roma just are opportunists. But at the same time, some Ukrainians of Ukrainian ethnic origin or Jewish ethnic origin did the same. They just moved from the same places. And what my last question before I give opportunity to others is about the perception, maybe of course, better Polish perception of the Roma from Zakarpattia and, for instance, from the east of Ukraine, if there is a difference in the attitude of Poles towards different groups of Roma origin.
No difference. People have no idea about diversity of Roma, so they don't feel, sometimes people and also local government in a bordering town like Przemyśl, they know that, they used to live in a safe place, but as I said, they also migrate because of, economical reason. And from my perception, is like, it's something which is natural, which is not only, something which is more connected to the Roma. It's a gap in the system, and it's absolutely natural that people use possibility to find a better place, and it's not something which is used only by Roma. But when it comes to Zakarpattia and other region in general, in Polish community, among Polish people, there is no awareness about diversity. And also, among people who are in the group of 70 people at the railway station in Przemyśl right now, they are from eastern part of Ukraine. So even if their situation is really terrible, unfortunately, it doesn't mean that their situation will be better and they will be more protected. No.
Paul has a question.
Yes, just a general question, which I always ask. I don't remember the constitution of the Polish Republic. Does it recognize minorities or only civilians?
No, Polish country, according to law, recognize minorities since 2005. We have a law since 2005 which recognized minorities group, and we have two group of minorities, ethnic minorities, among them Roma, and the national minorities. So yes, we are recognized as a minority group.
Jewish Poles, are they a minority or not?
Yes, they are national minorities because
Which is the nation here?
sorry?
Which is the nation?
They are recognized as national minorities because according to Polish law, they have a country which is organized outside of Poland, and this is Israel.
That's peculiar. Thanks for the information. Very interesting. Thank you.
And also Paul, and I think all of us would be interested in the reports which you mentioned. If you really can share, probably if you can send them to Stefan in English. I think some of us read German and Polish as well. So any
German is
language.
okay also for me.
For me,
Yeah,
Polish is
one
fine.
report was published in German. It was the first report about the discrimination cases and so on. And 2 other reports were published in Polish and in English. And of course, I will share with you.
Thank you so much. That would be very interesting to read and very. It gives also different perspective. I mean, official reports and personal accounts which we hear from you. Okay, are there any other questions? If not, oh, Alenka.
Yes. Have you got any support from other Roma NGOs from abroad? When I presume that you were networking before the war with Ukraine. And what happened then? Do you have any support?
Yes, we one of the first organization which supported us was a German organization from Heidelberg. And we also received support, like aid support from Swedish Roma organization. Swedish Roma activists also arrived to Poland, and they helped us in the interventions. So it was a very practice support and also financial support. It wasn't, significant amount, especially when we compare with the UN agencies like IOM or UNICEF or UNHCR, but it was also very important, especially in the beginning.
I have some more questions. Thank you for all these answers. It opens up a little different situation also when I compare Poland and the Czech Republic, for instance, where I tried to figure out what's going on with the Roma in the beginning of the war. And one of the issues was the language. Of course, not only for Roma, but some of the Roma couldn't speak Ukrainian or Russian, of course, English, only Romanes. And if you had such situation, and again, what did you do? How your organization helped, and also the reaction of others, non-Roma?
Yeah, we had also Roma who couldn't speak in Romanes, in Russians, and in Ukrainian, just only in Hungarian. So we employed a Hungarian speaker person who was one of the assistants.
We have the same problem in Switzerland.
Yes, exactly. We even had a conversation about this, I remember, a while ago. Yes, so we employed a person, and then we had 3 people who work with them. And we also naturally have people who don't speak Ukrainians and Russians, only Romanes, but in our foundation we have people who speak Romanes in different dialects because members of our team are also Ukrainian Roma. So we have different dialects of Romanes in our organization. So we are able to communicate. And we also have, we build the structure of cooperation with, especially with the families who we've been working for months or even 2 years. Yeah. So they are able to receive, you know, support like a summer holiday or something, but they have to learn Polish or they have to go to school. So we also build the structure, not to give them without the reason, but also to help them to be more independent. This is our goal. So many of them, especially people who arrived, you know, a while ago, they are even better in Polish right now than than in the beginning. So we can communicate in many languages, but Romanes is also language which is used in our foundation by us, and we are also supportive for non-Roma organization, because for us the most important is to, you know, to build partnerships with the non-Roma organization who are also in the same way very helpful and open, but sometimes they don't have a tool. So when we combine our perspective, our Roma perspective, non-Roma experiences, we are able to gain even more. So we are also supportive in the context of language, dialect of language. So yes, this is also something which we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. More questions, comments? No, then if I made the last question, returning to what Stefan asked in the beginning, you mentioned that Ruska Roma arrived, and what about Serve and Lovare, particularly if we talk about Zakarpattia? I think
Yes,
so.
a lot of Lovare, a lot of different group, but you know, this among them, we also notice some structure, especially at the beginning, that the Roma from Zakarpattia, they are, you know, a little bit lower on the hierarchy inside of the Roma community. But we also observe, of course, it's a too less time, but when they work together right now, you know, especially when they have a common projects, like in the garden or in educational projects in the center or in other Polish institutions, the self-identification became less visible in their daily life. But of course, especially the most conservative groups, you know, they are still visible, like people who perceive themselves in the context of subgroups, also in the context of religion, especially Muslim people who came from Ukraine, because we have some people who came from Ukraine and who are Muslim, and many of them also said that they are from Ruska Roma and they are Muslim people. So it was also something which was new for us.
Thank you. So
Sure, they are not Kirim leaders.
Sorry?
They could be Kirim leaders or Besaraba in Ursaria, because those are often Muslim. And Kirim leaders sometimes say that they are Ruska Roma. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's a very complicated. They are, you know, much more diverse than Polish Roma. In Polish Roma, we have 4 main groups. Of course, we have also Sasytka, Haładytka Roma, you know, smaller groups. But when it comes to main group, we have 4 main group. In Ukraine, the situation, it's their diversity. It's more, advanced. Let's say they have a more diverse community than we have in Poland. So it's also something which we need to learn as a community, as a, you know, people. I'm not talking about the people with the academic background, but we have a, you know, different kind of people who are, you know, psychologists, and they are Roma. They are, you know, they have a different professions, and it's also part of our education to discuss more and to build a bigger and deeper awareness about the diversity of our community.
Thank you so much. I think there are very nice words to finish, and we're already on time. Thank you, Anna, and everyone who attended the lecture. And I just want to announce the last one will be on June 5th. And Daniel Wojak, who was scheduled actually for January, but then was ill. Now in June, he will talk about the situation about Croatia and the Second World War. And this will be the last one for this year, but I hope we will continue the next year. And also I hope that over the summer we will create the platform and upload recorded presentations of our speakers. Yeah, and thank you again, Joanna, and everyone. Have a nice day, evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Right.